You're listening to the Low Pressure Podcast, the podcast for skiers.
Presented by CMH Heli Skiing and Peak Performance.
This episode of the LPP is brought to you by CMH Heli Skiing, Peak Performance Outerwear, Fat Tire Amber Ale, RMU Skis and Mountain Culture Shops, and the official destination partner of the LPP, Kicking Horse Mountain Resort in beautiful Golden, British Columbia. Enjoy the episode. On the farm.
Out here on the farm.
Nice to see you,
buddy. Good to see you.
Yeah, so why are we out here right now?
Why are we out here?
Yeah.
We're doing a podcast, bro.
Why not inside?
It's a little loud inside, and I got a fairly newborn in there, so.
Fair enough. You didn't want to get him on the show?
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't have a lot to say yet.
Is it one of those things where you're gonna keep him protected from social media? You don't want to put his face, don't want his voice on there, so people can start.
I mean, I feel like inevitably he's probably gonna end up on there, but so far he hasn't been on there. So
it's one of those things, when you can see like when they like dig up a mummy or they have like a child and they're like, this is what, or like when the kid goes missing, this is what he could look like now, right?
Yeah, totally.
I bet you AI could like take his screaming baby voice and like, this is what he'll sound like in 20 years. And by that, this is what is based on the sound of his voice, his bone structure will be created in such a way that this is what he's going to look like.
Yeah. No, I'm sure they can do, I mean, I would like to think that they have better things to do with their time than to do that to my kid, but
nobody does though. There's so many people that don't.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it should be his choice at some point.
Have you seen all that AI stuff lately?
Yeah.
Like
it's crazy.
In the last 2-3 weeks, month.
Yeah.
Like all the chicks doing their. I was also like all those girls doing the face.
I didn't see the girl thing. I just saw the Morgan Freeman thing.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, that's a guy talking. And the guy's talking, and the Morgan Freeman is talking what the guy says. It's
oh really?
Yeah.
There's so many.
Creepy.
You can do face swaps.
Yeah.
Lately, there's art.
Yeah, I saw that.
And there's some music videos, and it's crazy AI art.
Yeah.
And I guess these girls have been uploading their photos, and there's I'm an elfin princess, or I'm a supreme warrior. I'm like a supermodel, that kind of thing. And I was like, all right, how many days since a bunch of dudes started doing it? And then I saw 3, and it was yeah, that actually makes the guys who posted them. I'm like, yes, that's exactly who I would expect to post that.
Right.
Too. I want to do one for my dog.
Yeah, like Hoji, he was one that posted on it.
Did he?
No, I'm sure not.
I was gonna say, did he for real?
He's not one of those guys, I don't think.
No,
as far as I know.
Does Hoji even own a mirror?
Debatable.
Would he care?
Crosses one every now and then.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I try to avoid them because there's no reflection, but
yeah.
It's a ginger thing.
Yeah, ginger thing. See right through you.
Sweet. So where are we right now? Tell me where we are.
We're in Revelstoke, British Columbia, and we're on my property, which is also First Light Farm.
First Light Farm, and we're on the farm, are we? We're out by the tractor.
Yeah,
obviously.
we're by the tractor. You
nice. told me make sure to get in the shot so you can maybe pick up a Kubota partnership.
Yeah, Kubota partnership, and pretend like I'm a real farmer.
You are though. You're a real farmer.
Yeah. No, we're real. We're really doing it for
What's
sure.
This thing?
That's a spreader, fertilizer spreader, or seed spreader.
Yeah.
And then behind that is the wash station, and then on this side we have the greenhouse frames that we don't have the plastic on, and then the field's kind of out here. Yeah. So. Why? How did the farm?
How did this farm thing happen? You're a pro skier. You're one of the top skiers in the game. You now decide a little bit later in life. We were just talking about, your retirement plan,
27 years from now.
Starting this out 20 years ago would have been a great idea, but everything is for a reason. So why now, and how did you end up becoming a farmer?
I mean, it's a convoluted story.
We got time?
But basically it starts with me trying to curb my carbon footprint, which kind of started with Salomon TV. I believe it was 2016.
Was it the Greenland one?
The Greenland one, yeah. So we went there and we made a movie called Guilt Trip. and it was like at the time it was we brought a climate scientist along with us, Alan Hubbard, and the concept was to alleviate our guilt from flying to Greenland to go skiing. We brought a climate scientist along and did some snow science along, and like we showed that through the film. Like we weren't trying to like actually.
Yeah, I remember him talking about like that ice layer or something that kept the snow.
Yeah, it was actually super interesting. Like
that film made me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, and like he's done a lot of work on the Greenland ice sheet, and it was actually like really good data that we got. It's like hard to actually get up onto the ice cap, and his theory was that there was like an ice layer from the warm summers, and then when you get these big melts, it hit that ice, like the water would hit that ice layer and just like run off instead of like keeping on going down. So it was like a significant kind of discovery. But I mean, during the whole thing, like at that point, like I knew climate change was real. Like I wasn't a denier by any means, but it just like was like too big for me to like really.
Yeah, it's like your level of guilt and knowledge is now to a point where I can't continue doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, and so that really happened when we took it on tour and we did like Toronto, New York.
Yeah, because you went the whole way just in the EV, right?
That was for Curve of Time.
Okay.
Yeah, that was like subsequent. So
I remember one of the main things about that is I remember, just as a side note, you were like you were complaining that you need chips on road trips.
Yeah.
And like not being able to buy chips was like the worst part of the whole thing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So that was like a little bit further ahead. So Guilt Trip, we like took it on tour and people like really wanted to like people that weren't like necessarily skiers in these big cities, like were like, okay, like holy cow, you're like seeing climate change. Like what are you doing about it? And you're like, well, we made this movie. And
brat.
yeah, like it was like pretty like and we'd been prepared. We knew we were going on stage. We knew all these things, but it just like I'm just like one of those people that if I'm like gonna talk about it, I like have to walk the walk a bit. So
right.
I like started doing a deep dive into my life, and like the easiest one is like your what you eat. So I became veggie, and then I was flying around the world like a lot at that time, and I just like cut that out of my life as much as I could. Like I think, and so the next year we did Curve of Time with Greg, and I think it was like we had like 26 flights the year before, and we got it down to 2. We were doing like Salomon meetings that we like just had to go to, and then so the Curve of Time, that's where we did this big electric volcano thing, but basically like the whole side of it is that like started making these changes, and I actually like turned out I was like a total meat eater, and turned out I actually like liked eating vegetarian, and and so it was like it just turned it very positive and made me want to do more.
And then so you got to the point where you realize how expensive veggies are here in Western Canada. So you're like, screw it, I'm gonna go buy my own. Grow my own.
No, and so like I was like Curve of Time was another step, and then I veggie oiled my truck, and then I met a girl, and she was like way into always wanting to farm, and I was like, oh yeah, I could do that. And
did she have experience beforehand?
Yeah, so my partner Jessie, she has experience. She's like done an internship. She's worked for farms.
Yeah.
So this didn't like come out of the blue.
What's it called when you go and like intern on farms for work for like housing? Is it woofing?
Woofing, yeah. It wasn't. She did like an internship. So woofing is like you can just like there's like a thing around like you can do that anywhere around the world or whatever, and so that's like been her childhood like dream for a long time. And then we thought we were priced out of Revelstoke, and so we kind of like spent like a year or 2 cruising around BC, like looking at all sorts of different communities to like try and figure out what we want. We figured we want 5 to 10 acres, and like
near a ski hill.
Yeah, we had some lofty dreams, like as you do.
Yeah.
And then in 2022, or sorry, not 2022, 2020, pandemic hit.
Right.
And we had plans. We had like really kind of were getting drawn away from farming, if anything. We were getting more drawn towards the ocean. We had like big summer plans. Pandemic hit, and obviously that was the end of that. And I'm think it was like both of our first thoughts were like, why are we not farming? Like we've been talking about it. Like we'd been talking about it a lot. And so that like...
Did that come a little bit out of like the fear? Like we don't know what's happening in the world right now? Like food security and...
Yeah, food security, everything. It just like if you're like talking about an idea like of that thing and then that hits, and like the first couple of weeks of the pandemic, it was like we really didn't know it was like what it was all about, where it was going. So it was like...
Right.
Like I didn't really think that the world was going to end, but it was like definitely like kicked our butts into like, okay, like enough talk, like let's actually like
and it's fun. I've had those same thoughts too. It's like, well, if something did go sideways, like I don't have any food, I'm not growing my own food, I don't have like space or land, you know. Like,
totally.
You got to find out always, you know, you start thinking about your zombie apocalypse team. Like, who would I have? Who are the 5 people you'd have on your team? Yeah,
well, Greg Hill and I always joked about that. Like when we were like doing these trainings, like we were training for the end of the world, and then the end of the world hit, and I was like, well, it doesn't really matter if I'm that fit right now. That's for sure. That was like one of my first thoughts too.
It's like a trial run. I hope people see it that way. Yeah, it's like a dry run.
Yeah, I mean,
for the real apocalypse.
Yeah, totally. So anyway, so we had all those, and we pretty much like immediately started some starts and started working on a community farm idea.
What are starts?
Plant starts, like so getting the tomatoes started early.
Right.
Just because of our climate here, that's kind of like, how you get started early is get them started inside and then be able to bring them out as like bigger plants.
Yeah. So like that's what the greenhouse is for. Start some of those out and then bring them outside.
The greenhouse, so we actually start inside here, like inside the house, and then the greenhouse, they will house like our hot crops, so like our tomatoes and peppers and stuff like that, like later in the season. It's just like not quite hot enough here to do it without them.
So you're at this point, did you own the land yet?
No, so at this point we didn't own the land, and that's we were like really hesitant to like lease land because we like wanted to own the land that we started on. And so we like kind of like we started on this community farm idea because that way we could like develop like a farm and then hand it off to somebody. That was always like the thing with like leasing land, is like you just like investing in the soil and not like getting anything out of it. But that almost came to fruition, and the last second it like didn't work out, and then we were scrambling to find land.
Now, was there did you feel like there was a rush at this point in time? Like you say scrambling, was there a rush, or like, you know, when you get something in your head, we want to make this happen now? Yeah,
like at this point we were like, because the pandemic started like last kind of week of March, and then so we worked on that through April. It was a big snow year, so it was really slow start. And then so we had all these starts that we needed to get in the ground. Like we kind of committed without committing, and then at some point when it fell through, we're like, oh, we like need to go find some, because like we had basically committed to the year. And so we like ran around town, like talked to everybody, and luckily like 2 landowners south of the airport here leased us land for the first year.
This one?
Not this one. Oh. Yeah, different spot, and we had 2 little plots. And basically just like it turned into like such a great thing to do, because we learned one, we like confirmed that farming is what we wanted to do
before buying a property and being like, oh no.
Yeah, totally. And like and that you work together well with your partner, which is also like a good part. And then the probably the biggest learnable is that like we didn't need as much land as we thought we needed.
Right. You can put a lot into a small plot, right?
Yeah. So
how much have you got here?
So the whole proproperty is 2.7, and then
you wanted 5 to 10.
Yeah, we wanted 5 to 10.
Geez.
Yeah. Yeah, and so we like. I mean, and it's obviously would be great to have more. But hopefully
baby steps, right?
Yeah, hopefully we can lease some land or something around that.
What about your neighbors? Have we already started planting that seed?
Yeah, slowly.
Right.
Yeah, we haven't like fully taken advantage of this yet.
You got to figure out. Yeah, it takes probably a few years to figure out how to optimize what you have, right?
Yeah, totally. And I mean, the whole farming thing is like, it's kind of wild because there's so many different aspects to it. Like there's like growing the food has its challenges for sure, but like having successions going on and
so like when
selling
one crop's done, you got to put something else in.
Yeah, and like or just having like a steady supply of something. Like we do like a lot of restaurant sales, so it's
so you have like a crop done now, and then next week or in 2 weeks you got another one, in 2 weeks you have another one, just to keep it rolling, rather than like all right, at the end of the year we have tomatoes.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Like so you can't like
it's like
if you just have it like in these sporadic times, then it's like not a concrete supply chain.
Yeah.
But if you have it, like you just have to have them going all the time,
right.
And then people sign up and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna get my tomatoes from you all the time. Like I'm gonna get this from you all the time."
Do you participate in one of those like grocery boxes, or like do they have that in town?
Yeah.
It's like the farm box.
Yeah, they have like there's CSA boxes, like the other farm in town. Those CSA boxes.
And it's like fresh, current, like whatever's picking now kind of veggies.
Yeah,
right?
totally. Yeah, so we don't do that. We do restaurants. We do farmers market, and then we have a honor farm stand out front.
What's that? Oh, I see. People just put money in the container and.
Yeah. We just have like a little thing.
Do you have chickens here?
We don't have chickens. No animals. Yeah, I mean, and then that like segues into the like we don't have animals. We start kind of beginning to end of April or middle of April, somewhere in there. And then run till October, and then it's done.
It's a perfect job for a pro skier.
It is, yeah. So like it's like, and so like if you take farming like full time, you start extending on those sides, and you start maybe getting chickens and stuff like that. But as of right now, it's like we're pretty happy to like. It's like really fun, really hard work. You get burnt out, but super fulfilling. But it's like really nice to shut it down at the end of the year and like
to have a break.
Yeah, and just like focus on something else, and not burn out on farming. Like I feel like by the time like towards the end of the ski season, I'm like super excited to like get out and get in the soil again. Get your
hands in the soil.
Yeah,
and then vice versa, you're excited to like put the hoe down and get your boots on.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, it's like a nice balance for sure.
So you were leasing that land?
Yeah, so we leased the land, and it was kind of like we did everything. Like there was no like business plan, there was no like real planning going on. We like knew what we wanted to do, and then but it would be like, okay, like well we got to get these in the ground. Like oh we need a tractor to till up some soil, and we got the tractor and got this, and then. Like, okay, well, we're going to have to, like, put something in. We better build, like, a walk-in cooler. And built a walk-in cooler. And then it was like, oh, we got to figure out how to sell this. And it was, like, every step of the way, we were just, like, a couple days ahead of it, you know?
Yeah, and you're like, oh, did you get a lot of that info on YouTube? Or how did you get that stuff?
Yeah, I did a lot of YouTubing, more for, like, the systems and stuff like that. And then...
is there any one specific, like, channel that was like super helpful?
Yeah, there's this guy Curtis Stone who does like spin farming in Kelowna actually, and it's like I mean a lot of people like will like a lot of hardcore farmers will like not be into him, but it's like to have it on YouTube and see how it works. It's like you don't have to do everything, and farming is like this across the board. There's so many different ways to do it. Like not one farm is the same. Like everybody has their like little intricacies, so it's like to me that's like kind of how I learn. You like watch a video and you take like a little bit from here, a little bit from there, a little bit from there, and you kind of like create this whole thing. And when you like can actually see somebody doing it, it's like incredible. Like that's how I learned. You're like you're doing that.
What's spin farming?
Just like on city lots.
City lots.
Yeah, so he had city lots. He would like lease city lots or like people's like lawns. Mm-hmm. He would like turn them
urban farming.
Yeah, totally. Cool. And he had a successful business, and it's like super impressive.
Would you guys do something like that? Like maybe for like the school, set up like a school plot for the elementary kids or something?
Well, I mean that was kind of like where the community farm idea was going. Mm-hmm. And that's definitely still in the works. But yeah, no, now I mean we learned so much that first year. Like we had to drive quite a bit. You have to open and close greenhouses every day. Mm-hmm. So that like if you have to drive far, it's a real.
Because you were just leasing this little plot. You weren't living there.
We weren't living there, so it was like, opening and closing greenhouses every day is like takes like 10 minutes. But if you have to drive like 15, 20 minutes to get there, all of a sudden you
in like northern, like Canadian summers, it's like it gets dark at 11 and it's bright at like 4 in the morning, right?
yeah, exactly. So, we learned about that, and then, like so we had this like quite successful season. I mean, we worked our butts off, but our goal was just to like pay off what we put into it, which I think at that time was just over 20 grand. And that summer we were like managed to like make a little bit of money on top of that. Which
so did you exceed expectations?
We did, yeah. Like when you're selling bags of like greens for like $5 or $6, you're like, how is this ever gonna add up to like 20 grand? It's crazy. But it did. And then right at the end of the season, right when we had shut down, this place came up for sale. It was a private sale, and we jumped on it, and lucky enough was able to purchase it.
How did you hear about it? Just because everybody's got their ear. You put the word out, and everyone's had their ear to the ground for it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a Facebook Marketplace thing, and I was like, I like checked that stuff quite a lot, and I was like, we got tagged a lot, but like I reached out like right away.
Right on, and it's a pretty cool. It's like close to town.
Yeah, it's right in town, really. Yeah. It's the Big Eddy, so like...
Because when you sent me that message, I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking, all right, I probably need like 10, 15 minutes to drive out to wherever he is. And I'm like, literally, it's a minute and a half from where I'm staying.
Yeah, totally.
It's just over the bridge.
Yeah, it's pretty special like that. And like all the mountain bike trails are, like this is the road that you take to go out there. So we get like a lot of mountain bike traffic stopping by the farm stand all summer. Yeah.
And then just people driving down...
Yeah, it's just a busy in-town road. So it's
you're
like,
across the street
sweet.
from like there's like the pub right over here, and there's like a little supermarket down the street.
Yeah, so like the pub, like we deliver greens to them twice a week, and you just like walk your greens down. It's like super fun wherever else you have to drive. But and so the second year we like totally changed up like our style. And got like more into like mechanical cultivation, which is like a bit far down like the farming rabbit hole, but kind of changed style, and things like really worked for us.
Because it could make things a little faster. Like you were talking about, the whole reason you got into this is because you wanted to. It was stemmed from your personal desires to do things a little bit better for the environment and your own personal environment, and then you're like, oh, we got to bring tractors in because it's actually. You can't, to do your first year as a farmer, to go full on Jeremy Jones, to like use an analogy, just full on foot and hand power, it doesn't make any sense if you're doing it for your first year.
Yeah, I mean people, it's like those things like everyone's like has their like limit of like how hardcore they are on it. Like there's a lot of like no-till gardens going on. I've used my body my entire life. Like I was a construction worker,
right?
Pro skier. I've worked it enough to realize that like if you keep beating up your body like this, it has like a shelf life.
We were just talking about before we started this, so you got like to your retirement age, like I was like, you didn't start this young, you're already kind of beat up.
Yeah. No, it's like 30. I'm 38, so it's like if you're retiring when you're 65, that's 27 years from now. So So like I really looked into like how we could like make it easier on our bodies, and I'm still on that quest, like so that it's a long-term thing.
Right.
But then like so like there's like two parts of the farm. There's like the part that is great because like we're providing food for local people, and they're
yourselves too.
Yeah,
right?
and ourselves, and it's really awesome. But the part that was like really important to us and myself for sure is like to make it profitable. It's like great to have these like ideas and these romantic ideas like, oh, I'll start farming and do better for the world. But if it's not profitable, it's not going to work. Like it has a shelf life.
You have to live too, right? You've got to exist. Like there's the whole point of like, you're not just doing this, out of the goodness of the universe, but like you have to take care of yourself and your partner, and now you have a kid too, right? Which came along kind of right in the middle of the beginning of this whole journey.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, it's been important that it's like kind of like where we wanted to get it to and where we've gotten to it now is that it's like I want to like showcase like a sustainable life, that you don't have to like go down the norm. You can try these
sustainable by like your lifestyle, your food that you eat, and you're making money and existing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, like all the things. It's like better for the environment, but you can make money at it. Like for sure, it's super hard work on so many different fronts, and it's not for everybody. But
did you have? I'm sure there's moments where you're like, "This isn't for me."
Yeah, I mean, farming is stressful for sure.
What based on that, what are some of the biggest things that you learned that you didn't expect, or like challenges that you were faced where you're like, oh God, oh no?
I mean, so many different things. It's just like you have so many different businesses within the business. Like it's like you're growing the food, you're marketing, you're like figuring out how much you can take on. Like recently this past year, we brought on 2 employees. I've never been a boss before. That's its own like whole crazy challenge in itself. At the start, you're just like absolutely terrified. Maybe we'll wait.
We'll hang out here for this heli to go.
Yeah,
by.
we're in Revelstoke, so the sound of helicopters is kind of like birds chirping. Yeah, and it's not even like full busy season yet.
No. Can you imagine if it was blue and sunny right now? We'd be inside for sure.
Yeah, no, we were just talking about like challenges and learnables, but yeah, like employees learning how to be a boss, and it, it's tight margins with farming, so it's like, what do I have to adjust in order to be able to pay this person, right? It's like I need to hire somebody to help what we're doing now, but in order to hire this person, we need to do even more. Yeah.
So it's almost like you're still doing the same amount of work you're doing, and you're hiring the person to do the extra that you need to pay for the person that you're hiring, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, and like there's like that side of it, and there's also the side of like just like trying not to like micromanage, because it's like you're like, oh, you shouldn't have picked that. Oh, you picked that wrong, and yeah. Right.
Well, you got to teach them to start too, right?
Yeah.
Although
totally.
I bet you have people that already are the people you hired that have any knowledge.
The one guy that we did, he was like knowledgeable but fairly inexperienced, and then the other guy had none. So it's like
other ones you could afford if you had someone that knew what they were doing.
You know what? Like we live in a recreation capital. There's not a lot of farming going on here.
True.
So and like you don't like it's a really small farming community. You don't exactly want to like cherry pick their employees that they've trained up, right? Like
right.
So yeah. That side of it's like challenging for sure.
What about the woofing? Have you ever looked into like bringing on woofers?
We had some people stop by 2 years ago, and they were amazing. But in general, and after having employees, it's like I just way rather like invest in the employee and teach them
and have someone long term.
Yeah, and just like it is like. I think that was like my biggest learnable this year is like the farm labor is like a lot more challenging than I was expecting.
There is on the flip side of that, there is value having someone short term who has a lot of knowledge that can come in and be like, hey, actually, have you done this, or do you know that you could do it this way?
Oh yeah, totally. If you have like knowledgeable, like really experienced people, it's I mean, and a lot of it is like it's really similar to skiing and mountains in a lot of ways. It's like I draw a lot of like parallels between the two. Just like you're just at mercy of the weather, and you really have to know like when to push and like when to just like be like, okay, like you are owning me right now, and that's okay. This is part of it, you know.
That's a good point, and it too reminds me of something something you told to Stan once.
Did he listen?
We'll see.
Yeah.
He's back on his skis now.
Yeah.
But I think he was telling me that he was just backy Sundays and stuff, and he was skiing, and he's just got to go, balls out. And I think he told me that you were like, dude, if you want to keep doing this, you got to like dial it back a little bit, or just maybe choose your moments a little bit better?
Yeah, pick your day.
Was that like a single conversation, or was that just like a running like, hey,
no,
man,
that's
like,
a run. I feel like that's a running conversation to try and get Stan to like. I mean, that's why we love Stan, because he only has one gear, but
right.
It's hard on your body when you only have one gear.
Yeah, I've been out on a handful of dog walks with him, and we chat about that kind of stuff. He's like, "Yeah, man, he had that really tough recovery for his knee.
Yeah,
he's back on skis now, and he seems to be doing well. But he brought that up, I think, more than once. He's like, Rubens was like, you gotta mellow it out. He's like, yeah, I know, but
yeah. I mean, that's the that's the thing. It's like you. I mean, still to this day, like your film season can be defined by 2 days.
Right.
Like it's like the days, like when it's perfect out there, it's like that's when you go send. In my opinion, it's like that's the.
It's like 75% until you can push into that next level.
Yeah, and I think that's why I've done so good in my career is like it's like, okay, you look at conditions. It's like, what can we do today? It doesn't mean like. Because every day is not the day to like jump off huge cliffs or ski sick lines. It's
right.
like, okay, it's sketchy out here, but we have a film crew and everyone's like getting, like there's a lot of money that is getting thrown down here. Like we need to be productive. So how are you productive, but also like saving your body? So like sometimes it might just be like doing one turn wonders in the trees, but that's your job as like a professional skier is to like identify that and then be like, okay, this is where we can actually get good shots today. And it's like, maybe it's not what we were looking for, but this is our reality. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you go out every day and like just want to send, then, well, I mean, you can do it. It's just hard on the body.
It hurts.
Yeah, it hurts. Like,
so,
I mean, it's like I'm going into my 20th year as a professional skier.
20 years, man.
And like last year I had an awesome year. Like I was like picking super smart lines and just lines that like inspired me and was like super fun.
Are you guys gonna do another old guys trip?
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's like we haven't done one for a while for sure. Like after the Mount Cain one, I think it's probably about time to like bring it back. I mean, Sage and Ian kind of crushed that one this year
with the old man makeup.
Yeah, totally.
It's cool to see like back like 10 years ago, you're not getting pro athletes in their late 30s.
Well, except for Douglas.
He's an enigma.
Yeah, well, Douglas and Davenport.
He shifted to the filming thing, and he was like he owned the company that shot him.
Yeah, but he was still like when he was 36, I think was like.
But there wasn't many.
36, 37. That was like the peak of his career.
Yeah, but and like Dav, like you said, him and Dav, like, but that was pretty much it, kind of.
Yeah.
But now you've got all those dudes that were, the last 10 years that have been the guys, you and Hoji and Abba and Sage and Mac and et cetera, et cetera. Like you're all still around, still doing it, and people. I don't want it to sound crass, but people aren't getting tired of you yet. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it. I guess like we're still here.
Well, and like
I mean, it's I mean, not to like throw TGR under the bus or anything, but like a couple of years ago, I was watching one of their films, and there was a bunch of like super close calls and near death, and I kind of came out of the film like feeling sick to my stomach.
Is that one with Angel?
I can't remember, to be honest.
She like cut across, and it was just like
there was a couple, and it was just like scary, and I was like, whoa, this is what it takes to like make a ski film. But like in my mind, like to make good ski media, like I want to go skiing afterwards. Yeah. Like no matter what, like it should get me stoked. And so that kind of like brought me back to like, I'm like, okay, I'm old. I'm not going to like be, and I've never really been the gnarliest guy out there of skiing by any stretch of the imagination. Right. And so it's like, I went back to like the fun thing. Like, let's make skiing look fun. Mm-hmm. And that's what I want to watch personally, because skiing's fun. Like it's a dumb sport. Like, we're not saving the world or anything like that. It's like, it's a sport where you're going to have fun, and like, it's given so much to me in that sense of like I can't believe like the opportunities we've had, and that like when you're at the bottom of a good run and you're just like laughing hysterically, like when else does that happen in your life?
Right.
Like like I know everyone like loves mountain biking, but I never am laughing at the bottom of like a good mountain bike run hysterically. But after like a good powder run, you just get to the bottom and you're like, what just happened? Like,
I know, right? That's one of the elements of skiing is the best, is because then say you're in a resort or something and you get on the chairlift and you have 10 minutes to talk with the people that just did the exact same thing as you, and you're all like, that was awesome. And it was like, it's like the greatest 10 minutes. Like, that was like just hype session.
Totally.
And then you go and do it again.
Yeah. Because it's just like
best.
a fun hype sport. Like,
it's the best. Well, and it's cool. So back to kind of like you being old and everything. No, I'm just teasing. Just teasing. So like 20-year career. Most of that time was spent with Salomon.
Yeah.
This year, one of the reasons I wanted to come out, I've been dying to talk to you about the farm for a long time, just personally.
Yeah.
But also, you have made a huge career shift.
Yeah, totally. So I've actually literally been with Salomon my entire free ski career.
20 years.
It would have been 20 years, so 19 years. It would have been 20 years this year. And yeah, I don't know, it was like, felt like it was time
so
to
was this a contract renewal year? Is that kind of how it got? That's how you were like, okay, I need to make this. You're a free agent, basically?
Yeah. Kind of like, it actually kind of started at the end of last year. And I wasn't like particularly happy with the way like a few things were going there. Mm-hmm. And so I just started like kind of talking around and seeing what other people had to offer. And had some like really interesting conversations. To go back a little bit, like, and tie in the farm again, like part of the reason with the farm, like part of the goal was to like create like another monetary income for us.
Another income stream.
Yeah, just so that I could look at skiing without the monetary value.
True, yeah. Okay.
Like after 19 years, and like that's how I pay my bills, that's how I pay my mortgage, is skiing. And so there's like, you can't ignore the job side of it.
Right. And then there's a point where that money may not be coming in anymore. And I have this conversation all the time with as many people on the show as I can, young kids and older kids, like, what's your plan? Like, and it's neat to see who chooses what and how.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say I like
suggest everybody go get a farm.
Yeah, and I can't say that I have much of a plan. I'm very much of like a fly by the seat of my pants sort of person.
You take advantage of opportunities when they arise.
Yeah, and it's just like something interesting, and to be honest, like the farm has been more successful than I could have ever dreamed of already. Mm-hmm. And it's like really like taken the monetary pressure off of it. But so last winter I saw the potential of the farm. I'm like, okay, like I can turn this into like a legit business. Like I could get by without skiing and all that. And then I was like, okay, like what do I want to do with skiing? And so like took out the monetary side and was like, am I just done with this? Like I'm obviously going to be a skier for the rest of my life, but am I done with the pro skier side of it? And the couple things that I like really realized was like, one, I love filming skiing. Like going backhunt, like I do a lot of ski touring, pretty much like 90%. And it's like super fun to go with your friends and ski these big long runs. But there's the beautiful thing about filming is like going to a zone, like finding the zone, going to the zone, and like getting to like really focus in on like one or two lines where you're taking pictures, you're like walking up beside it, you're like figuring out like every last inch of like where you want to be on that mountain, and then like executing it in front of a camera. And just that, it's not even like the camera style, it's the feeling you get when you like can ski off of cliffs like without hesitation because you know it so well, whereas like if you're out there with your buds, it's like you never look at it good enough,
right?
And you just shouldn't ski like that. Like you're like, okay, I'm smart enough to like not ski off this cliff blind, but when you're like filming, it's like you have it so dialed, and that style of skiing is just like incredible. It's like really fun. So I had that realization, and then basically there's like a few more like projects I'd like to do before I like relax.
with the like decision process. I know Macintosh was telling me he's been with, North Face and Volcal for a long time. And he's like, eventually there's going to be a point in time where I'm not getting paid to be a skier anymore by a guide, but maybe I'll just have like a legacy deal, right? Where I'd be like, hey, I know my kids and my wife and myself, I'm going to get skis. I don't need cash by that time because they need to spend that money on someone else. Was that kind of a thought process in your mind too? Because you'd been with them for 2 decades, right?
Yeah. I mean, and I guess that's like part of the reason why I ended up switching was I didn't see like a great future with the Salomon side. It was really hard to like integrate them into anything more. I've been trying to get like involved in the product side, like the R&D side of things for like a really long time. And so that's what I went kind of looking for and came up with something really interesting ideas or solutions on that sense that got me super excited. And to me, that's like where like I know so much about skiing. I know so much about ski touring in particular. I'm out there all the time, and so I have a lot of feedback to give on that. And I really enjoy that side of it. And I don't think you have to be like a professional athlete to do that.
True. So who are you with now?
So I switched to Picture Clothing Organic.
Which you just announced like last week, right?
Just announced last week. And so if people don't know them, it's like a small company from France. 3 young guys, like best friends, started it. And it's got like the eco-sustainable, conscious side of things, which is kind of like, that was like the other side of it is like, that's what I bring to the table, at this point is like that authentic story. So I'm like really excited to be with like a brand that more aligns with those values.
And you can dig into a little bit deeper into those stories rather than, Salomon's a big company and they have a lot of athletes and a lot of things, and it's usually like big master plans, whereas you can kind of focus on more of these little details and these little stories.
Totally. Yeah. And I felt like since Guilt Trip and Curve of Time, I haven't really like had much of a chance to like explore those ideas in the public. I like kind of toned down the like climate change stuff. So it really felt like it was like time to like ramp that back up, and just share the kind of journey that I've been on, and more than anything, like create positive light on the climate change side of things. And then so so Picture Clothing, and then Atomic, which is like wild and crazy, and I can't honestly say that was like where I thought I was going.
Were you thinking maybe for more of a middle level ski brand, like ABMA moving to RMU, or like something along those kind of like middle level companies?
You know, I had like a couple opportunities like with the R&D side with some other brands, and so I was really pursuing that with the hard goods side. And then talking to Atomic, all of a sudden they just like were talking exactly what I was looking for, which surprised me, but also made me stoked. So like I'm largely brought on there to work on like a new backland line. So ski touring, we're gonna start talking. They're starting to build. They've like audited their whole company's supply chain for where they're most carbon intensive, and so they're working through like decarbonizing that whole process, and then these will be like the first skis that have like eco-sustainable components to them. Cool.
And you're kind of like the like a combo athlete / enviro consultant.
Yeah, and just and very much seem to be designing a new ski for them, which is like,
are you?
Yeah.
Did you start? So when did the Salomon deal officially end, and then the switch happen? It's just at the announcement. Like, have you been able to do some work with them over the summer?
No. So that all just happened at the start of November, basically.
Oh, like quick.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it all just like.
So was there a deadline where you had to make the decision with Salomon, or had you moved on and then were looking? Like, did you quit the first job before you found the next job?
No, it was all like the whole way through. It was like, I mean, I feel like that's how you do business nowadays, or at least how I do. It's like I was just transparent. Like Salomon knew I was looking the whole time, and I kept them up, and I wasn't like trying to pull the wool over anyone's.
And were they still keen on bringing you back?
They were, but they didn't quite step up to the plate enough, obviously, and that's why we're here.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So you feel you're in a better position now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I'm like, I mean, the Salomon family, like, I have nothing bad to say about them. It's been incredible 19 years, but things change, and I think it's probably good for everybody to have like a little breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
But yeah, for myself, it's like just having that alignment. Like it feels like my personal brand is more aligned with the brands that I'm working with now, which is super exciting. And then just being new, like trying new gear and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, brand new everything. You like know everything about everything, and it's like now things are exciting.
Yeah,
and
totally.
fresh.
No, and like we just like we're going through a design process of these new skis, and so got back into like trying everybody else's skis. And like I like really haven't had that opportunity
to like
for a while.
test different things out,
Yeah,
right?
and
Like
just-
I like this or I don't like that.
Yeah,
right?
and just being excited about like
Cool.
R&D again is like really it's thrilling. It's like I love it. Like
Do you feel like you're the most fired up for this season coming than you have been in a while?
yeah, I was until it hasn't snowed. But
It's really-
it's really been hard to like get too fired up on skiing. But no, I was really excited for skiing. And like, I mean, the farming's good at that too. You work really hard, and it makes you appreciate like how fun and somewhat easy skiing is to some degree.
Right. Like what were you doing in the past, in the summers before the farm?
Directly before the farm, I was like highly recreating. I did. I mean, at the time, like Salomon was getting into mountaineering, and so we like used that as an excuse to like make videos and run around mountains all summer.
Right.
Which was awesome. It was amazing. But I did, I did find, ultimately, it was actually the summer where I kind of like, we were doing these like huge missions, and I was like expecting all these things, like feelings from mountains, and I kind of realized that like the mountains weren't going to give me everything. Like I needed a bit more, you know.
Mm-hmm. It's that stage in life, I guess, now too, right?
Yeah, it's like I love the mountains. I've spent so much time in them, but they're also like I've been a professional skier for 19 years. It's like, and I was like looking back on photos, and it's like it feels like you're like trying to be really risk adverse at the time, but you look through the photos and you're like, ooh, I don't know if I do that anymore. Like I don't know if I do that anymore. Like
now is that a thing? A little bit because you're a little older now, but also now you're a father. And then is that kind of like, let's chat on that a little bit, because now I'm sure your perception of certain things is your level of acceptable risk has probably been reduced even more.
You know, I mean, we found out we were pregnant like mid-January last year, and that's like the first thing that goes through your head. Like the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks of skiing, I'm like, oh, do I feel different? Should I feel different? And basically what I found out pretty quick was like, because of being older, because of seeing so many things happen in the mountains, being part of rescues, that sort of thing, my risk tolerance is like pretty low these days. I basically came away with it being like, I'm very comfortable with where my risk tolerance is. Mm-hmm. Like there's an element of like having to live your life on top of things.
Yeah. And you're at a stage now too where, and you have been for a long time, where you're not just an athlete that's going on a trip that someone's put together, and then you have to figure out how to manage that. Whereas you just pretty much decide what you're going to do with the people you're going to do it, and you have for a while. So you understand it, and you don't feel this outside pressure to do something for someone, because it's you're the one that's there doing it.
Yeah, totally. No, and I've like increasingly like say yes and no to like certain trips through the experiences. Like I really enjoy like a hut or camping trip where you can immerse yourself for like 10 days, and because you just like you start knowing the snow so well, you get so comfortable, you see everything change, and you're just like, to me that's when I like can feel like really good about things. Whereas if I like go into the mountains like for a day here, a day there,
a couple of days for heli or something,
you're just kind of like, I'm not comfortable enough with like the snowpack and what's going on to like really like have those decisions. Like it's much slower burn for me these days, for sure.
And has your crew tightened up as well? Like, you've always had the same people that you work with, but do you want to keep it?
Yeah, I mean, the Blank crew, like, I mean, that's who I've been working with like the last bunch of years. And kudos to Salomon. Like, we have those like safety days at the Salomon.
They're doing it right now, I think.
Yeah, they just did it.
Is it your first one that you've missed?
Yeah, I'm sad to miss that, for sure. I mean, that was like really was one of the highlights to me, is like working with the people, like doing rescue scenarios with the people that you hang out with all year. And so like I've really seen us like tighten up as a crew. Like, we're all speaking the same language. Everyone has good radios. Like, it's just like, yeah, it's like.
So that's another aspect too, is like you've got two new teams and a bunch of new teammates that you may never have really gotten the opportunity to ski with or hang out with, which is kind of exciting.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, and I think, I mean, that's like, I'm happy to like start like really helping out with that mentor role.
Hey, I was gonna ask, yeah, my next question is, has many of the Atomic athletes reached out? Because I bet you there's a handful that are like, oh, I'm gonna get to ski with Rubens. Yes, like,
yeah. I mean, it's all like so fresh right now that it's
pick
like,
that guy's brain.
Yeah, we haven't got that far, but it yeah, it's definitely like a big part for me. Is like
I could call you Guru Rubens.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but you just like, I mean, when I went skiing with these young kids last year, that were filming a thing.
Oh, the wild chicken. What was it called?
Yeah, Powder Chicken.
Powder Chicken.
I can't remember the name of the movie, but there's like, I was just like, they're so much further ahead than we were at that age, and then if we like foster that, like they can just be so much further ahead. They can like like from all the mistakes and floundering we used to do, you know.
And when you think about that, are you thinking more like on hill stuff, how to act, how to react, or is it like business stuff, on either side of the ski, like inside and outside?
I mean, they should probably talk to someone else other than me for business. I mean,
be like, say, what you need to do is you need to find a farm. You need to find a plot of land.
Yeah,
do you know how to grow garlic?
Yeah, totally. No, I mean, the business side is like, that's challenging and so different for every.
Another question too, right? Like, Salomon is good for all those years. Did you ever, any of those 19 years, have like on those, re-signing years? Have you ever had those thoughts? Like, maybe I should move on?
No,
never until now.
No. I mean,
That's
that was
cool.
like the main. That was the. I mean, there was a couple like rougher years for sure, but this is the first time that I've like really gone around and
right.
And yeah, looked
You've earned that. You've earned that right as well,
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I think it's like good and healthy for a relationship to like see what else is out there. And
yeah. Maybe you can do like what they do in like baseball or hockey, and you just sign for the company for like a day to retire as like a Salomon athlete.
Yeah.
Or retire as like a Vancouver Canuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. No, and yeah, I mean, it's we'll see how it all goes, but so far it's like, yeah, it's going amazing, and I like look forward to like seeing what we come up with. Just like the design process with the Atomic guys is like super inspiring. Really good communication, really good ideas.
And can you do that from here, or are you gonna have to go over there at some point?
I mean, I don't know what it was like before COVID, but I feel like definitely my experience of the ski industry, we like for so many years would be like flying over to Europe for a meeting, and you're like, we can do this by like video conference, and COVID really forced us into that.
Yeah.
And I feel like we use those technologies way more than we used to.
So, the question I have, right? So, Salomon and Atomic are both Amber companies, and they share certain things like bindings, bits and pieces like that. Is there any like kind of crossover like that you see that's going to be either beneficial or not?
I mean, it's
like, were they cooler that you're going with Atomic, which is under the same umbrella company?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Like, I mean, I wouldn't call it a rivalry there, but there's like, yeah, it's yeah, I think that was a bit of salt in the wound there, I would imagine.
Oh, they weren't super stoked, or?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't like really got a chance to like.
Did you just like light the match and pour the gas and then walk across the bridge kind of thing, Rubens? Like, should we be getting into some dirt here?
No. There's no dirt, but
Yeah.
I mean, I'm stoked the crossover is bindings because I personally like love Salomon bindings.
Really? Tell me about these, because that's my least favorite part of skiing. And skiing gear is figuring out what bindings. We just had a good conversation with Sammy while I was here.
Yeah.
And everybody knows like he does what he does on kingpins, and people are like he's as comfortable. Like you see what he does.
Yeah.
Exclusively kingpins.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, interesting. So I got a pair.
Right.
And then like last time I was on Salomon stuff, it was like Guardians, like with the first generation of like that Alpine touring binding, right? And then you've got the shifts now, which I haven't really used, but I'm like, like what do you use?
Yeah, so I use the shift binding.
Like exclusively, like you're happy to like send a pillow stack and
if you see me in a video, most likely I'm on a shift binding.
Mm-hmm. And now you can use them at the new place too.
Yeah.
With Atomic.
Yeah, exactly. And I basically I don't have Alpine bindings anymore. I use a shift binding, or I use the MTN binding or Backland binding.
The MTN is more of the tech binding, right?
That's the tech binding, yeah. Which I've grown to like totally love. It's like, I mean, I've been on Dynafit bindings before then, and just, it's like a very simple binding, works really well. The shift binding, I know there's like some people cannot stay in that binding. I'm personally like one of those people that I've like never had a problem with the binding, and it's like, has its intricacies for sure. But I love it.
Did you have any input on that binding?
Yeah. Huge.
That's why. Like you've made it for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, I get it. Like if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. But for me, it's like do you
have it like set a certain way? Like what's your din? Like how do you?
I normally put my din one higher than I would normally.
So what do you do? If you're
I'm
going
at 12 now?
Normally just sitting at 12.
Yeah, like I think maybe I crank it up. I think at 12. I think I was cranking it to 13 at some point, but I just crank it like one higher than I normally do, especially on the heel. It seems to come out a little bit easier
when you're skiing gnarly shit.
Yeah,
and then when you're doing mellow, you bring it back down, or do you even bother?
I normally, if I'm skiing mellow, if I'm ski touring, I'm on my tech bindings anyway.
Just set it up at the beginning of the season and not even look at it again for the rest of the year.
Yeah. Like I basically like I'll have like a pair of like 120s bents with tech bindings on, and a pair with shift bindings on, and that's what I'll spend majority of my year on probably. They like, I just like that setup. I think it's incredible. Like I can go to the ski hill on a powder day, like rally laps inbound, like throw a pair of skins in my pack and
skis
and throw them like under the thing and like not worry about it, and then just go for a quick tour in the afternoon.
Right.
And just like having the releasability, I think is like a big part of that. Like the tech bindings, it's like, I mean, like Hoji charges like straight Nair on tech bindings. You can do it. It's just like, it's sketchy.
Is he clicking his toe? Is he locking the toe? I
wonder. I think he's like me, like less and less. Like I rarely lock my toe on a tech binding anymore. I kind of only do it when I'm like, if I'm out ski touring and come back inbounds.
Could also be because of you guys have kind of similar styles where you're really kind of, your center of gravity is real tight. You're not flailing. Neither of you guys flail a lot. And even if you get to a point where you flail, it's just because that's where you need to be. The terrain has made you have to put your body in that position, and then you're like, it's just like it's like your guys are kind of like cats. You go both kind of similar.
Totally. I mean, I think like we don't use our bindings that much. Whereas like
someone like myself.
Well, and
if I'm in that position, it's because I didn't put myself there. It's because I just ended up there.
Like years ago, we were testing skis with Salomon, and it was some demo tracks, and it was Sickrick Armstrong, and he's like, I don't do demo track, like I don't do anything below 14 or something like that. And I was like, dude, like get over yourself. Like
this isn't the 90s anymore.
I'm like, dude, we're just testing skis here. Just chill out. And whatever he did, and like literally, I'm skiing behind him and like going to this mogul field. Like as far as I could tell, he was just doing a turn, walked out of both of his skis. I was like, oh, well, okay. Like,
but there was a 15 there.
Yeah. I was like, I guess you're right. Like, it was crazy. Like, so I think there is like some dynamic where like
it's how people ski too.
Right? Yeah. Some people just use their bindings like way more than than others. And I don't think it's like necessarily has to do with flailing. It's just like power. And
I honestly think it has to be like style, right? There's like myself, 100% I rely on my bindings way more because I'm not as skilled or as strong as someone who's a full pro skier who's gotten to that level where their body and their feet are where they need to be in relation to each other with everything, all the variables, the slope that you're on, the speed that you're going to, the style of the snow, where your body position is. You just manage to be in the right place at that exact moment more than the regular Joe who's going to be like walking out of his bindings or twisting out of them.
Yeah, totally.
Even on the skin track.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, for sure.
But that's interesting. So the shift is your go-to.
Yeah, totally. Like I love having, and the shift does have to be adjusted right. I see them like quite often not adjusted properly.
Make sure that your toe piece isn't worn down or
yeah, and the forward pressure. It's like that with like most of those bindings. It's like, the forward pressure is if it's off. It's like that. Whenever I've been on a Salomon binding and like walked out, I like look at my forward pressure and it was off, and it it really doesn't work when the forward pressure's off. So figuring that stuff out.
Rubens tip of the day.
Yeah. Tech tip.
Tech tip with
do your forward pressure, and that's I don't
Chris,
know if there's videos online about that.
Oh, like 100% YouTube for sure.
I've seen people like they take the forward pressure screw and they think it's the DIN screw and they're just like tightening it, and you're like, yeah, that's not how it works. Yeah.
100% have done that in the past.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to start this. We should start like a little series. Chris, I'm going to call you Rubens.
Yeah.
The guru.
I don't know about that.
You don't like that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad.
Not much of a guru, but
put that on the title of this episode.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
And then so this year you're going to be skiing the backline. You're not going to be jumping on some bent Chetlers or
no,
what?
No. I've been skiing the bent 110s. The most so far, and they're awesome. They're super fun ski. And then doing a lot of testing, but I'll be like in between the backlands, the bents, like kind of just getting a feel for it. New boots, new skis.
Yeah, new boots too. Hey, everything's exciting and new.
Yeah. One like exciting and new, and like / like have to figure out how to like.
Yeah, well, because you've been in your zone for so long, right? It's like 1 year to the next, they're minor adjustments. Yeah, but you're going like Chevy to a Ford. Man.
Yeah. No, and it's fun to just try new stuff, and I definitely learned like a lot about R&D and design stuff with Salomon, and I want to like keep that going.
Cool. So aside from that, what kind of goals do you have for this season? Wrapping it up.
Goals for the season. I don't know. Make it through it.
Yeah, you got any so you're not doing Salomon's filming and whatnot. I know Blank's have a little shake up right now.
Yeah, Blank has a little shake up. So I don't know. So far it's just everything's talk. There's nothing.
And it's interesting because you've got a brand new ski partner who partners with different ski companies, right? Like Atomic and TGR have been together for such a long time, right? And like
so
picture, right? Like who's gonna fork up some cash to have Rubens a part of a film, and for whom? Like, are you interested in like skiing for a different company or different?
Yeah, I mean, there's like a lot of different ideas getting thrown around right now. A lot with picture. They signed Timmy as well, like a snowboarder.
Timmy Tausig, right?
Yeah,
he's a Whistler
yeah,
guy.
Whistler guy, and Yuki, and then they also do like
Yuki.
Ukulele.
Oh, Yuki. Oh, sorry.
On the island,
I was thinking like
with Marie.
I was thinking the name Yuki.
And then they have they do wetsuits as well. So there's a surfer, Aqua Junkie.
Oh, that's good. That's a good benefit too,
yeah,
right?
So we've all been talking about like a few different ideas.
Iceland ski to surf mission.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, it'll be in Vancouver, but yeah. So there's a bunch of ideas getting thrown around like that. But kind of like the big idea that I've pitched, which will most likely not happen till next year, or it won't most likely. It's happening next year. Is like kind of like my story and the farm, kind of like a lot of what we talked about, and then have like sustainable base camp ideas.
Cool.
Around here in a couple places that haven't been filmed that are like tricky to get into. So that will be like, we'll start filming that this summer, hopefully. And then that will roll into next winter. And that'll be like a big, that'll be kind of like the big project that I'm working on.
I dig it.
And then I think with like designing the backland ski, there'll be like a project behind that too. So, yeah, I don't know. There's just like been so much change, like trying to get like everything ordered, getting the gear, trying it all out. And then loosely talking about like film ideas, but nothing set in stone.
Exciting times, man.
Very exciting, yeah. And then hopefully like something works out with the Blank Boys, because I love hanging out with those guys.
Yeah,
it's been like a really good thing we've had for the last couple of years. So
right.
Don't want to just walk away from that, but
sick. Right on, man. Well, thanks for having me on the farm.
Yeah, anytime.
And you're like, let's do it outside. And I'm like, actually, yeah, it's not so bad. It's not too cold yet today.
Yeah, totally.
It was snowing earlier, and I was kind of concerned about that, but it worked out perfect.
Yeah, well, and I have like an old farmhouse that has it's not exactly quiet.
Yeah.
So
fair enough.
Yeah.
Right on, buddy.
Yeah.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching this video on the LPP YouTube channel. If you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button. It would mean a lot to me. And while you're here, you may as well watch this great LPP highlights video. Thanks.